Hello, my name is Tyler Sykora, and I am the Chief of Staff in the Office of the President and Assistant Professor of Biblical Studies at Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. I'm coming to you today to introduce you to a new resource that you may find enjoyable called Going Deeper with New Testament Greek Workbook with exercises from Mark 8:22 through 10:52. This is a workbook that Dr. John Lee and I co-authored. Dr. John Lee teaches New Testament at Midwestern, and it was after many years of discussing and teaching that there may be a potential gap in the syntactical resources applied to a specific book or section of Scripture. And so we looked at the Way Discourse and thought that it was a theologically and devotionally rich passage and thought, man, it would be great to work through the Way Discourse and apply the syntactical categories from Going Deeper. So you see here in the table of contents how we apply the various syntactical categories from Going Deeper to the Way Discourse as it's broken up by its pericope. And in each chapter, we are actually going to be focusing only on a certain number, maybe 2 or 3 at most, syntactical categories for each chapter. So you see here with Mark 8:22 through 26, we pay particular attention to pronouns and to adverbs. And then in Mark 8:27 through 9:1, we pay attention to genitives and infinitives. And so with this approach, we get to kind of isolate certain syntactical categories, but apply it to what is actually there in the text. So we analyzed Mark's gospel and thought, hey, there's several infinitives in this passage. Therefore, let's focus on infinitives here. Going on with each chapter, you're going to, once again, be focusing on a couple syntactical categories. There's always going to be a grammar review. So this is just a helpful refresher for those of you who may not have been more recent in working through Going Deeper. This is going to be a helpful just summary of what these different parts of speech teach. So for example, you can see the pronouns here. We go with the definition and description and basically just revive some of the basic knowledge that you would have learned at one point or another studying intermediate Greek. One of the most helpful aspects of this book is that we were kindly and graciously allowed to use the charts from Going Deeper. And these are incredibly helpful charts that kind of summarize the most prominent uses of each syntactical categories. And so we're very thankful to Kossenberger, Merkel, and Plummer for allowing us to use these. Know that much time went into these and found it very helpful. So each part of speech is going to also include the summary charts from Going Deeper itself to be incorporated. So once you review, then you're going to move on to guided practice. And guided practice in the workbook is basically going to begin with translating that text. You can see here that we incorporated much space so that you can mark up the text. You can write your own translation in the margins there and really work through it. And to aid you in your translation, we include vocabulary aids, both from 26 times to 50 times occurrence and also from 25 or less. This is just to help students, aid students in, so they don't have to look up every tough vocab word that they may not be familiar with. So we include the vocabulary aids to help with the translation. After the student translates, then they're going to work verse by verse questions. So you can see here in 8:22, there's going to be questions about the text. So 8:22a, why is autou in the genitive case? And how is it functioning in the sentence? Just causing the student to pause, reflect, and think. Now, to help the student if they get stuck or to just compare their answers, we always include an answer key shortly thereafter the workbook section so that they can quickly flip over a few pages and see the answer. You can see the answer to those questions right here. And so this is a helpful way for students to hopefully pause and think. We encourage them in the introduction to this textbook to think through the answers first on their own. But if they get stuck or if they want to check their answers, if they're confident, then they can flip over and see what Dr. Lee and I have to say in the answer key. And we do that through every section. Something that I don't have in the PowerPoint, but there's also going to be a summary section where it's basically asking the student to put this passage in its context, in the Way Discourse and in Mark's Gospel. And this just allows the student to practice proper interpretation, where they are seeking to put the text in its context and reflect about some of the theology or the content of it itself. We also, at the end of the book, include some of the latter chapters. We have a chapter on text criticism. So text criticism is something that is sometimes esoteric and difficult for people to understand. It's both an art and a science, but in this workbook, we work through some of the more prominent textual variants in the Way Discourse of Mark's Gospel. And so we seek to provide answers. And students will be asked, hey, work through the textual apparatus of the N828, think through what is likely the right reading, and then come to the answer key, and you can see what we have to say there. So it's a very practical introduction as well, to textual criticism. Finally, one of my favorite parts of this workbook is we conclude with chapters on diagramming. Diagramming has become somewhat of a lost art if we're talking about line diagramming, but arcing and phrasing have been seeing somewhat of a revival of days of late. And we work through step by step how to line diagram, how to arc, and how to phrase the text. You can see here we include in the answer key phrases and arcs, and I'll do a phrase next, but arcs to basically ask the student, go ahead and arc this yourself, and then come and see how we did it, and then you can hopefully learn. We think arcing and phrasing in particular are incredible resources to help you slow down and see the flow of thought of the biblical author. And you can see here, we also have that phrase diagram included with different things. We encourage students to use Bible Arc. It's an incredible resource where it really makes it easy to diagram the text. This is a resource that we are hopeful will hopefully fill a little gap within Greek studies, specifically in the intermediate level. And we'd love for you to pick up a copy to see if it may be helpful for you. Whether you're a pastor who's just wanting to revive some of your Greek and sharpen up and review, you get to do that looking at Mark's Way Discourse, an incredibly rich passage. Or whether you're a professor and you're wanting to think about other resources that you can help your students get more fully acquainted on the practical level of not only learning syntax, but applying it to a passage of Scripture. That is what you'll find in this book. It is an immensely practical yet rich book based upon going deeper to help students really put into practice what they are learning. So if you have any questions, I'd love for you to reach out to me or Dr. John Lee. You can find our emails on Midwestern's faculty page. But thank you for taking the time to watch this video about going deeper with New Testament Greek Workbook.